Hello everyone and welcome to Metro Matters. I'm Mary Sitt. Every day about 1,200 of our buses weave their way around our highways and roads, covering some 500 square miles. Our total system carries about 108 million passengers every year. Ever wonder how we plan those routes? Some of you may be quite happy there's a bus stop right around your house. Others not so happy because you have to walk 10 blocks. But today we have a guest who's an expert on planning issues. Kimberly Slaughter is Metro's Associate Vice President for Planning. She has more than 20 years experience in both the public and private sector in transportation planning. Kim holds a bachelor's in government and pre-law and a master's in community and regional planning from UT Austin. Kim, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Tell me, how do we figure out what bus goes where?
It actually starts with a long-range planning process. What we're constantly doing is looking, 30 to 40 years in the future. What do we need our system to look like? We do it based on projected growth in both population and employment for the region. And in that case, we look at what do we have on the streets today, what type of bus system we have on the streets today, and where are there gaps in our system. What we try to do is to reach a goal, for sure within the 610 loop, of 100% walk accessible, which means that we would like to have bus service within a quarter of a mile of the density of population within the 610 loop to be able to walk to a quarter of a mile to a bus route.
So Kim, if we're planning long-term, 40 years out, can any of our customers today sit there and petition for a particular route? Would that do any good at all?
Oh, most definitely, because the next step to that is to, while you have that 30 or 40 year look, you translate that into the short term. We also do a 3 to 5 year plan. The public can contribute to that through their comments about where service needs to be, and we get comments from the public on a regular basis of where they think we should extend service, and we have to balance that against where do we have service now, whether the density is there to substantiate a bus route. And so we do rely on the public to give us positive feedback, positive and negative feedback on what we're doing.
Do those comments really carry much weight?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Honestly, we look at the public as being an extension of our staff. The public is, let's say, they are our frontline staff members. They're in the communities and they know what's needed in their communities. They're there every day, passing by locations, seeing new development occur. We can't be there every single day. We try to be out in the community on a regular basis, but they're every day and they're working in community organizations. They know where the needs are.
Kim, when you're planning, what factors go into determining whether we plan a new route or not? I mean, it's density, it also has to be cost too. Can you talk about some of the factors?
Certainly. Well, the major factors are population density, employment density,
okay,
and connecting where people live and where they work and other places they want to go. We look at what we call major trip attractors and generators, and those are things like employment centers, hospitals, schools, shopping centers. Those are places people are trying to get to, and where population density, where residential locations are.
So how dense does an area have to be, either with houses or with employment centers or companies?
It will vary. It will vary. Now, the density will influence more so the frequency of service, because a lot of factors go into it, whether there's concentrations of apartments or there's single family homes, and what type of service is more appropriate for that area. Is it a commuter premium service, commuter park and ride service that's more appropriate, or whether it's a local route that's weaving through the community? So that's all influenced by what the income levels are of the persons that live in those communities, whether they have an automobile available to them at their home to use, the number of persons per household, and how the proximity to different locations to the major activity centers.
So do we use census data?
In this region, we have, or most places have, what they call a municipal planning organization, okay? And Houston Galveston Area Council is the municipal planning organization, or MPO, for our area, which makes them responsible for generating the official population or demographic data for our area. So we use their data. It's built off of census data, but they take that census data one step further to make adjustments for errors in census data to make sure we're seeing where populations of people live, where the jobs are, and they break it down in lots of great detail for people who are data junkies.
Right.
They break it down into detail of types of jobs, where those are, so we can get more information about how many trips are generated by different job types and employment sites. It becomes fascinating if you love data. So we use their data, but we're also starting to look a step further and starting to tap into the school district's data, because they collect different data than the Houston-Galveston Area Council collects, and the Texas State Data Center. So officially we use a Houston-Galveston Area Council, but we augment it with data from other places
In order
as
to
well.
customize our routes and give
That's
the best
right.
service possible.
That's right. It tells us more about our customer. We also conduct surveys to find out more about our customers, or the people who don't use us, which is even more telling. The people who don't use us, why don't you use us, and where are you wanting to go that we don't take you?
So Kim, if somebody has a request, can you please extend the route, or can you please add more stops? That I don't want to say complaint, that comment won't really be addressed for another 3 to 5 years, because that's the shortest amount of time you use to plan something?
Typically, but it depends on how strong the need is. If we look at it and we say, wow, this is somewhere we really had not addressed, we may address it more immediately. We try to be flexible to accommodate the needs of the community. We don't try to stay very rigid and say, oh, well, this can't happen, until 3 years or 5 years. We look at how well it fits in our business plan for the next year or that current year.
How much does it cost to start on the route?
It will vary. Realistically, it costs us about $72 a revenue hour to operate a service. And so it depends on how many revenue hours of service we're putting out there. And that's influenced by the length of the route and the number of hours per day that route is operating and how frequent it operates.
This is very complex.
It is very complex.
Computer modeling for all this, right?
We do use some computer modeling, and some we use more simplistic spreadsheets as well. But we do long-range forecasting on a computer-based model. We have 2.
Kim, tell me about the grid plan that we have now, and how is that going to make us more efficient?
The grid plan is an idea, that was introduced by our CEO, Frank Wilson. The idea is to put your routes on more of a grid pattern, so that you just kind of the use of fingers as, the bus routes would interact
crisscross.
like this. So yes,
Right.
Literally like a grid sheet of paper. It maximizes a customer's opportunity to transfer to get to the destination they want, as opposed to operating on a radial system where you'd have everyone come into downtown or the activity center.
A hub center.
A hub, right. That's right, and a hub and spokes is what it's referred to. And then have them transfer to go back where they're wanting to go. That makes the customer's trip very long and very cumbersome.
So how much of a grid do we have now created with our current route system?
About 40% grid. Some of the restrictions for us are influenced by our geography. Our street network is not built on a grid network. So it makes it more difficult to have every one of our routes be on a grid network. The more your streets are set up as a grid, the more you can be a grid. And we have some places that are perfect for that, like downtown. But once you get outside of that, we don't necessarily have a strong grid street system. So we do the best we can with the geography.
Well, Kim, you have quite a task cut out for you planning our routes.
But we enjoy it. So.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
That's all for this edition of Metro Matters. I'm Mary Sitt. I'll see you again next time.